Hello, everybody, and welcome to tonight's coverage of the YesterYear Racing League. This evening, we're excited to bring you coverage of all the action from iRacing's virtual North Wilkesboro Speedway here in North Wilkesboro, North Carolina. Maconi Entertainment is here to bring you action from all types of racing, including the weekly Fast Friday series. No matter what you're racing, we can bring the action to life. My name's Justin Prince. Alongside the booth for tonight's action is Chris Wright, with Robert Hill working the controls as our producer. The YesterYear Racing League is a unique one we've seen throughout the season so far, based on actual events that emulates historical races for the 1990 Whelen Modified and 1990 S.M.A.R.T Tour Series campaigns. These races, in turn, are identical to the weather conditions, to the race distances, etc. We bring you these bits of history throughout tonight's broadcast once again. Tonight, we're emulating the 1990 version of the Lowe's 150. This race tonight, though, is renamed in the honor of Zach Brewer. It's the Zach Brewer Classic, won by Robert Jeffries in 1990. Chris, some of the top modified racers in all of iRacing are a part of this series, whether it's OBRL with its many years of history, whether it's Bootleg Racing League that's been racing since the 90s, whether it's Red Light Racing Leagues. What are your expectations for North Wilkesboro tonight?
Well, before we went on air, we were just talking about that, and, you kind of sold me on the fact I don't think we're going to see a lot of cautions tonight, although it being a short track, these guys are really talented. They're going to see a lot of green flag racing, a lot of strategy about how hard to push here early in the race, how much you want to save your tires, and not sure yet if we're going to see a fuel stop or not. So all that's going to come into play at some point if they decide that they don't need to stop for fuel, or when they decide to pit. That's going to really shake things up if there are a couple different caution flags tonight.
Look at your track conditions and your track details once again, like back in 1990 at North Wilkesboro. Racetrack currently at about 90 degrees. The track temperature in the 60s. Air temp for today's action here around this facility open since 1946. Remember, on iRacing, we're using the only version currently on the platform from 1987. Now, before we get to the race itself tonight, it's important to mention tonight's race, as mentioned, is named in honor of Zach Brewer. He was a Winston-Salem, North Carolina native and a racer in the S.M.A.R.T Modified Tour, who also raced in various different series throughout the 1990s, including the S.M.A.R.T Tour, Bowman Gray Stadium's Modified Series, and the NASCAR Goodies Dash Series. He lost his life during complications with routine surgery just this past March, leaving behind a wife in Kimberly and his 9-year-old daughter in Avery. League owner Alan Wanamaker will be racing his Hillbilly Racing number 79 in his honor tonight. So the drivers now make their way to the racetrack for the Zach Brewer Classic. 150 laps on the docket for tonight's festivities. Let's see how they qualified. It's a shocker on the pole. It's James Waldo for the first time setting the top time in quali. He did it by nearly a tenth over Thomas Ogle. Dale Copeland starts off in the third position tonight with Rex Hoyle in the fourth position. Then in row 3, the 08, it's Ryan Pittman, and the 62, Rory Collins. Row 7, it's the Moores. In the inside row, the 4 of Donnie Moore, the 26, Lloyd Moore. And rounding out your top 10, it's Brian Johnson, the 17 Fours, and Ralph Vandervoors rounds out your top 10, Chris.
Yeah, and right there, just outside the top 10 there in 11th, we've got Brian Bianchi. And then, right there in P12, we got Chris Hazlett. Right here, Gavin Adams in 13th. Jeffrey Linden 14th. Bruce Pearson 15th. And rounding out the field, we have Stephen Hilbert, Todd Liston, Lowell Jewell, Thomas Hilbert, Torrance Childs, and Alan Wanamaker.
So John Spahn, Matt, your 1-year-old here tonight from iRacing's virtual North Wilkesboro Speedway. One more pace lap before we get going for tonight's festivities. In real life, this race had only one caution in the 150 laps and 2 total lead changes. The last of which seen Jimmy Spencer lose the lead to Robert Jeffries, which ended up being the race-winning move. What are your keys to get the race-winning moves tonight to be the winner of this race?
Well, I think the key tonight for these guys is going to be about managing the tires, trying not to burn them up, and I do think we're going to see everybody pit at least once, would be my guess, at some point, unless it runs green. You're going to want to be able to pit at a point where maybe you get one caution earlier than the rest of the field pits and try to jump them with some track position.
Green flags waving. We're underway for Modified Racing from North Wilkesboro. Tom Ogle already to a great start. Outside, getting the edge. In turn, already able to clear, getting a lot of give and take for the 23 inside.
Yeah, and you mentioned a lot of give and take. These guys are very, very talented in this car. They're going to have a lot of give and take out there tonight. A lot of people... Oh, we got a spinner here off of turn 2. It's the 26.
Caution flag is out, and it involves Brian Johnson as well. Lloyd Moore was running 8th at the time of the spin. And of note, I believe him along with Donnie have had some struggles here at North Wilkesboro, because at this racetrack, remember, there's the hill elevation that's talked about a lot on iRacing, but there's also the difficulty of the lanes. Loose off 2 is a common issue here at this track. Not gonna through, Chris.
You mentioned loose off of 2. That 26 is running up there in the high side. He's going to get loose as he tries to get the power down. He's going to collect the 27. And it looks to be a 2-car incident, but he's going to slide back up the track. And I am not sure who that is that hit him right there, but he got hit pretty hard. And then we're going to have another spinner here as well.
Just got word it's Todd Liston. Broken axles, 2 of them, in fact. And that could very well be a race contending ender for Liston. 61 was the one in the infield there of Thomas Hilbert. Black flags for Moore and Brian Johnson with the caution flag already here tonight. But already, the driver who's put up a lot of dominating performances up in front, Thomas Ogle, in 2 different races this season. The second he started up in the pole, nobody could pass him. That being said, today's another day.
Yeah, it's kind of surprising to see a big wreck here pretty early in this race. You know, like you mentioned there, these guys are very talented. We expected to see a lot of give and take, just a little bit, you know, a little bit too much throttle there, leaned on that right rear a little bit too much out of 2. Thought it was going to be able to get away with just a single car spin, or maybe that second car just getting a little bit of damage, but in the checkup and the way that they finished wrecking, ended up being a pretty good sized wreck there on the backstretch. Very unfortunate. You hate to see that for these guys this early in the event.
Just like that already on lap 6, still for the pace laps close on out here. Lowell Jewell is out of the race already from that incident as well in the 2 machine. He's your first DNF officially on the stat sheet. Interesting enough, in the midst of that period, Alan Wanamaker gaining a lot of spots because of that. Remember, he was the only driver not to set a qualifying time tonight. He's already up to the 15th position after that decision.
Yeah, and you mentioned Lowell heading for home. Randy's right there behind him as well. That's 2 guys already loaded up, and they'll be back next week. Looks like Lloyd's going to try to get out here and run some more. I can't really tell how bad the tow is in his machine, but he's still out here running.
Getting all set for the restart here. Drivers are trying to appeal the black flags in session. We'll see what's decided upon here. Thomas Ogle, the steep machine. Throw back to Ted Christopher, continuing to try and follow his ways. Green flag is out, back underway. Action continues here from North Wilkesboro as they go down the hillside. Already off to a clean restart once again this time around. Ryan Pittman amongst those getting shuffled back this time. Outside of that, everybody tries to get a rhythm down in that preferred groove, Chris.
Yeah, and this is one of those unique tracks where once these guys get strung out, you'll want to kind of diamond those corners a little bit. And then you mentioned right there on the restart as well, you know, as they head down the hillside, this place is built on a little bit of a hill. You run uphill going one way, downhill going the other. So it does affect the way you use the brake pedal and how hard you hit them going into each corner here, 1 and 3.
Already a lot of drivers trying to wrap that bottom just about, not towards the curbing yet, but at least staying within the bottom dash marks to be able to maximize the speed tonight. So right now, keep in mind, we do have time as a possibility of an hour and 55 minutes left to go if necessary. Not expecting that to be the factor. We haven't had time be a massive factor in any of the races so far this season. But this is the type of track where even they talk about in the modern day, the NASCAR Cup Series cars, this is a track that is extremely hard to pass.
Yeah, any short track is hard to pass, but this one especially with the way that you have to run the racetrack, and you kind of need, to run around here fast, you need about 2 lanes on the bottom, especially in turn 1. One thing that should come into play here as well, I believe it will come into play, it does in the series that I typically watch and participate in, is the lane as the tires wear. You'll be able to run higher down in turn 3 and 4 and not give up much time, maybe even start gaining time. So that'll be something to watch later on as well.
Keep an eye on things as the night progresses here. Now, one of the things that is intriguing about this series is they predict how things could go via AI. Yes, they call it Hubbles these days, the new nickname for the AI prediction system that uses data from previous league races for starts, laps led, percentage of laps, incidents, a whole bunch of metrics. Then filter that said data, and then add said more data as we've now built up said data sets in yesteryear. No surprise, Top Mogul, top of the board for the AI predictions tonight. After all, has done very well historically here. In fact, based on the data sets, usually he performs extremely well. As a matter of fact, a walking win possibly.
Yeah, and you see him right here as he's leading this race. I believe that he is running just as hard as he needs to stay out in front. He knows, if he's as good as he, appears to be around here, he knows how hard to push the car. He knows how he needs to run this place to save the tire. And all that's going to come into effect if we get 50, 75 laps. So if we're lucky enough to go to the checkered flag from here, it's going to be very important on how you use your tires.
Turn Ogle right now, just a 1/10 of a second of fall off. That's been the trend much of the way. Looking back though at a couple of years in terms of Waldo, talked about James Waldo a little bit. This is one of his best qualifying runs. He wasn't even projected to be in the dark horses for tonight. As a matter of fact, when it comes to Waldo, previous appearances on the season, he's only got the 1 top 5 so far. But remember, that top 5 came at Hickory, which was an intriguing one in amongst itself. He had some very bad luck at Richmond and Martinsville based on incidents and keeping on the lead lap.
Yeah, and as we know in racing, anything can and will happen. You don't know when the cautions are going to fall. You don't know when the right time to pit is. Get caught up in something. We just saw right here in the first couple laps of this race, there were some innocent guys who just got caught up in something there just because of a poor qualifying effort. So I think we're seeing tonight that he's got the ability to run up here and can finish up here. We'll see if he can put all 150 laps together. Don't want to count our chickens before they hatch, but so far, very solid start. And if you start with track position, it's a heck of a lot easier to keep it.
But watching as the drivers continue to settle on in here as the night progresses. Your interval currently separated by about a second between your top 5 drivers here. But Copeland, who has been up there consistently as one of the top 3 drivers in mostly every single race, especially in the first half of these races, seems to be trying something different. Trying to use a little bit more of a flatter run compared to the higher up the track runs from James Waldo.
I don't have a whole lot of laps in this car. Matter of fact, I've got about 0 laps in this car. So, Justin, I'm not sure if you have any laps in this car, but is there a method to that? Is he maybe saving his tires a little bit more, running a little lower, or is this just where he's comfortable running?
Well, based on talking with drivers in the past and seeing the league scene, especially, the big thing is if you cook the tires, you're going backwards or struggling. The fall-off difference between a good driver, a great driver, and the best driver can be upwards of 6/10 between those numbers, possibly even 2 to 3 tenths a lap, realistically speaking. That's a lot of fall off, Chris, in difference if you want to keep up to the leader compared to just keeping on the lead lap.
Yeah, that's a big discrepancy. We don't see that very often in some of the stock car races that I'm typically a part of. That kind of fall off in discrepancy is that would be very drastic. So it would be very interesting to see that play out. And if we can run green from here, I think it would be a lot of fun to see the comers and goers and see who could save their stuff and who can't.
You know who's doing a solid job up here? Rex Hoyle. It was a very tough break for him last time out. He had a strong chance to pull up an upset, in fact, in Richmond. But incidents ended up striking him in the later stages of that one. Our Wanamaker put it in best words after Rex Hoyle had his race-ending incident. Rex has to hate that. He was gone. In fact, he was running away before the late race cautions at Richmond.
Yeah, and he's sitting here running, like you said, he's running inside the top 5, running 4th. That's well within striking distance here. I think a lot of guys looking here are just kind of managing the gap to the car in front of them. Everybody kind of knows they want to make these tires last, so I'd say maybe in about 30 or 40 laps, we'll start seeing some guys really start to struggle. We'll start seeing some guys be able to pick their way through. But until that point, it's probably going to be single file for the most part here as everybody tries to save their stuff, and we'll figure out who's done a good job. I guess about 10 minutes time or so.
So far this season, for those who haven't watched along yet, 2 different winners in 3 races so far in the history of yesteryear. 2 wins for Thomas Ogle. Brian Bianchi is your other race winner. He picked that up, as mentioned, at Richmond after being a top 3 contender at the paperclip. So far, though, when it comes to Bianchi, he's been marred in traffic. The 41 car, only up 4 so far, is in 7th at the tail of the lead group.
4 spots is nothing to laugh at this point, though. It's one of the bigger movers there. You know, he dodged that first wreck that happened right around him, I believe, and so he's gained 4 spots. Oh, the 23 car just bounced off the wall here off of turn 2. It looks like he's pushing a little bit harder than the guys around him, visibly running harder off the corner and a little bit further up the racetrack. Not sure if he did any damage there off of turn 2. It doesn't look like it.
And the one thing to touch upon quickly, we didn't touch upon it from the jump yet. Bianchi is your points leader on the season because of what happened to Ogle. One of the major storylines talked about by the admins coming in is trying to reassert dominance. The first 2 rounds, he was up by nearly a full race. You know what one crash does with the Latford system? Puts you a far back because you finished 17th instead of, say, the top 5, like he was in line with before the attrition hit around halfway for him.
Well, it looks like he's back asserting his dominance tonight, running up here in the lead with this thing, and he knows, I'm sure he's seeing in the mirror that 23 hits the wall a little bit there on the front stretch once again. He's seeing that 23 run a little higher. He's seeing the 23 pushing a little bit on corner exit. And I'm not seeing that 13 do that. So I think the 23 is one of those guys that possibly here in about 10 laps, 15 laps or so, is going to start really struggling.
Yeah, you see them continue to utilize that higher line at this rate. How long can the 23 continue this? You mentioned already multiple wall scrapes. He's almost throwing what we've seen with Todd Liston at Richmond. Getting too early on the gas, that might be causing him to be hitting those walls with how straight he's going off these corners out of 4.
Yeah, and like I said, I don't have a lot of seat time with these cars, but I know I do not want to be hitting the wall where the tires are going to hit before the car does.
Yeah, broken tires tend to not be very fast. In fact, it's very counterintuitive when you have 3 wheels instead of 4 in a 4-car vehicle. These aren't tricycles, after all. But
and you see it right here. Look at him slide up the racetrack. He's getting ready to open the door. I think these guys realize that they're going to have to make the pass here pretty soon.
Copeland's getting close for some lunges here, already almost a third of the way through. Just the 1 caution to start things off on lap 2. It's been green since then. It's allowing Ogle to be able to run away. How does Copeland set it up is the huge question. It seems he wants to go, but doesn't want to force the issue, obviously.
Yeah, and if he's a smart enough guy, he knows that if he just sits there, gets in a little bit closer, and keeps hitting his marks, that 23 is eventually going to make a bigger mistake once again, whether it's hit the wall or push up too far in the center of the corner, and it'll make it pretty easy for him. But if you look off the back of that 23, That's basically the rest of the field. It looks like right there, all lined up right behind him. And Justin, I think you probably know the rule about that, right?
Eventually, somebody's going to want to move ahead. That is 6 cars grouped together within the span of 1 second margin on the racetrack. Looks like Lloyd Moore tried to make a little peek. Donnie Moore should rather say. But no one else really to jump in the queue yet. This isn't going to last forever, theoretically. But these are drivers that tend to usually give themselves a lot of time. Copeland spins himself in the grass. No caution. We stay green.
Oh, man, that is very unfortunate for the Chick-fil-A machine right there. Just clipped the grass.
Way too much time, and yeah, you're right. That is a very common mistake here.
And believe it or not, usually when you clip the grass, it's because you're trying to be patient. You're trying not to be too aggressive, and it just... Man, he is going to be kicking himself for that.
As a result, Copeland is now leading the second main cluster in 8th position. 5.5, making near 6 seconds behind a race leader. It's going to take a long while and a few strategy plays to get back up. Speaking of the plays, though, Rex Hoyle is not being as patient here. In fact, he's already looking hungry to try and set him up past this time. Waldo once again with the checkup. Hoyle still can't get the run yet. And here he goes with him missing the bottom.
Really hard, though, to make that pass. You talked about how hard it's going to be to pass out here, and I think the outside line is going to be there. It's going to burn the tires up. And that 23 probably just knocks some good off the tires to hold that spot. He's hoping for a caution. One thing that's happening here, too, is the 13, Thomas. I think he's purposely slowing down. He is not driving away from these guys. I think he's seen that the 23 is struggling, and he is purposely trying to back up towards these guys, not to burn his stuff up. 23 hard in the fence right there.
Yeah, eventually, at this point, the 23 is not going to hold on. Ogle is absolutely going to be loving this, but here's the door. The C's look to start to waddle the way through said door. Hoyle inside, outside, in the wall. Waldo yet again. And Hoyle's got the better rotation. James Waldo gives up second. The 50 looks to try and redeem himself from Richmond. Trouble behind him. Pittman in the wall. Caution flag is out. It's contact in the back of the group. That was with Donnie Moore as they started to go side by side down the front straightaway.
Well, they're side by side for second in front of him. Now they're side by side for fourth here. Oh, just came down a little bit there, did the 4. Kind of turned him. Heavy damage there, possibly for both cars. We'll have to get a look and see if they've broke anything on those wheels. If they haven't broke anything on the wheels, they should... Oh, man.
Yeah, who came in full speed at the very back? The caution was out for 20 seconds by then.
That's not ideal. That does not make anybody look good if you come into a wreck that late.
Yeah, we're trying to make sure on which car it is. We'll get you that in a second. Pit stop strategy is underway, mind you. But can confirm the car who launched it in was Gavin Adams, the 30 from 9th place.
The caution comes out when he's coming off of 4, too. Like, if you go back to coming off of turn 4, the yellow flag is waving.
And now this mixes up the strategy. And guess what? Dale Copeland is the one staying out to take the race lead. Not a shock as he tries to roll the dice. First off the pit lane this time was Rex Hoyle. Bianchi, Wanamaker, Ogle. The rest of the grouping, Ogle taking a full fuel load, it appears, into his modified machine. A lot of others, just the tires in the race machines here. We were talking about this earlier. Would anybody try it to see how long the old tires would play out, knowing fuel was not likely to be a massive factor? Not a shock it's Copeland with that mistake earlier, with how he was feeling his speed was there. That mistake was the only reason he was back in that 8th position.
Yeah, but even if you saved your tires really good, we saw we saw the 23 really giving up, right? So that tells me everybody's got some tire wear. Even if you've done a masterful job of saving tires, tires are going to probably get there pretty quick. We'll see. I believe he kept Rex, Brian, and Allen out here with him as well. So it's going to be 4 of them out here with the single file restart. It will be a little while before they get there. Maybe they're banking on pitting in 20 laps, maybe catching another caution and trying to come back through the field that way. Will be very interesting. And as for the 23, that's the caution he needed. James is going to be able to stay there in 7th, got new tires. And somebody should go let him know to make sure this run, no matter how many times he's hitting that wall there off of turn 2, it is not going to move out. He is not going to be able to move that out.
And remember, with the race rules, no lucky dogs, no waiver rounds. That means only Copeland staying on the lead lap. We have several drivers who attempted to get a lap back, or at least some laps back, will be in front of those who pit. Several lap cars going. Brian Johnson up there. You also throw in Jeffrey Linden, who's Leiden, should say, in front of Brian Bianchi. Thomas Hilbert's in front of several, including Wanamaker. And we're all set to get back underway. A wild restart already underway. A poor launch by the lap car. And here comes Hoyle. He looks inside. Some of the lap cars want to let drivers go. Others are fighting it.
Yeah, this is very interesting here, how many lap cars are up here and how much really track position these guys lost by pitting. 13's about to get trapped. Thomas is about to be trapped, have to give up on trying to make that pass and just follow the 79, the 61 backing up pretty hard here on the top.
Now already the battle for second clear, the battle for third clear. Ogle, remember, took the full fuel, so he is definitely good to the end. Don't expect him to come down unless it's just for rubber from here. You know who gained a lot of spots from that? Your biggest mover in the pit lane was Alan Wanamaker. The car he's looking inside to. Good block off by Wanamaker, but Wanamaker went from about 11 to 4th in the pit cycle.
Yeah, the question is how hard was he on his tires there that first run too? Since he stayed out, got that track position, you don't want to give it all back.
He didn't actually stay out. He took no fuel with the pit stop and or 2 tires. Remember, 15 seconds, a lot of people take 2 tires with these cars because it takes the same equivalent as a stock car 4-tire pit stop.
Well, that's good to know. I did not know that the pit stops worked like that over here. I just assumed he stayed out.
Remember,
so great call.
Yeah. But say you typically don't see a green flag stop with a modified. It's very difficult in live action.
Right now, everybody's trying to be cautious. All these guys who were at the front, now in the middle of all this, trying to be smart, be cautious. Don't want to get yourself in trouble. Don't want to tangle with the slower car, lap car. You want to survive it, get through it.
To ride on for tonight's festivities here. The battle is on for the lead. Right now, Copeland is a couple 100 slower than Hoyle. Remember, the short run, they stay pretty dialed together in terms of pace. Keep in mind, short run does not equal long run pace, though. Hoyle is still quicker by the lap, except for the last one.
The 79 clips the grass, checks up the 13 back there. Thomas just got checked up hard in traffic. Allen clipped that grass like we saw with Dale earlier, and he was able to save his race car.
Oh, and Ogle gets chopped off as the lap car of Leiden stays on the outside. Thomas Ogle still having to back out pretty aggressively there. And again, this is the same type of situation from Richmond. When Ogle's been in traffic, it's been tricky for him.
Yeah, and looking at him here, he's trying to be really patient. He's trying to be smart. He's trying not to take any high-risk moves.
Just trying to get the composure back, and you can argue at this point. We're already just about at halfway, by the way. That's how quick this race has gone tonight. Just like the real world. You have to wonder what it was like in the grandstand back in 1990 with how quick this went. But also, you're thinking back to the 1990s. There's a lot of festivities still in play in real-world North Wilkesboro competition, whether it's NASCAR Cup Series, obviously, but also just the short track scene in general.
How much do you think a ticket was back in 1990?
That's a good question. I want to say, I don't want to guess. I want to get a full number. We will get back to you on that one, but
It'd have been more fun to take a guess, and then we'll figure out the number. I'll give you my guess after you say yours.
it's definitely not 250. Like
No,
today.
it's definitely not 250.
So I would say $15.
You said 15?
15.
I was thinking probably 5 or 10. I'll go right in the middle. I'll go 7.
It's going to be an interesting question in terms of that, because one of the main things to consider back then, let's take, for example, the 1990 Holly Farms tickets. You know how much a ticket was for a cup race? $25. It's more expensive to buy the original ticket than it was to watch the race.
$25? You can't even go and get a meal at a racetrack from a concession for $25.
One of the main things with the history of North Wilkesboro that people seem to forget sometimes is ticket prices were on the lower side until the boom struck up. Towards the final stages in the decline, as some talked about before the revival. Speaking of reviving a battle, Rex Hoyle revives the inside line, trying to get around Copeland, still can't. Bianchi waits in the popcorn seat.
All lined up right here as they are trying to stay up there, and they have about 2 seconds on Allen. Not sure if there's any lap cars. I think they've cleared all the lap cars, so yeah, Allen has cleared all the lap cars, so it's just about making the time up. Same with Thomas right behind him, so there are no more lap cars between these guys. We'll get a good look at lap time here over the next few laps to see if and when they will catch them.
What was that about having no lap cars between them? Guess what? A lap car decided to say, hi, I'm right here. That is Stephen Hilbert, and that opens up the door more for second. Rex Hoyle seemed to get hard out of the gas just in case for the lap car.
Yeah, he went up there. I think he's just trying to be courteous to him, give him the room. I think he just went up and got out of the way. And looking at these lap times right now, Allen and Thomas are both running down the front three. And here goes Thomas, trying to become the first car on tires. Allen, it looks like, just gives it to him.
On a full set indeed. Oh, wow.
Tell you what, that lap car, when he chooses to get out of the way, he basically stops out there.
Yeah, that is not pretty. That was Stephen Hilbert yet again, who nearly spun it across the nose of Wanamaker. But for the race lead, Rex Hoyle still looking hard inside. Copeland having a hard time staying at the bottom of the racetrack in turns 3 and 4 on the up the hillside before going down the hill.
So Justin, I got a hypothetical for you. If a caution comes out, do these front three pit, or have they already made their bid?
There is a tire set available, but I think Copeland's bed is hoping it stays green till late. I don't know about you, but I don't think Copeland's coming back from 11th if he takes that first set, if there's a caution this early.
It would be interesting if they're able to get rained down.
Copeland's in the wall. Here comes Hoyle. Hoyle hard to the inside. Dale Copeland has to give it up. Rex Hoyle to the race lead.
If I'm one of these front three, it would be hard for me not to pit, especially if the 13 starts coming in a hurry.
Yeah, that 13 is rapid quick on its own. But that mistake you talked about with the 23 strikes there. And Ogle right now on his own is up to 1/10 of a second quicker than anybody behind Copeland. However, Rex Hoyle in clean air is now running 2/3 quicker than these two squabbling.
Yeah, he's drove off. You know, he took that lead and he is leaving them, and he's actually outrunning. Man, he outran Thomas by a couple tenths that lap.
And Bianchi in turn quickly shuffles his way to second. So your prediction was right on. Maybe you can be Hubble's 2.0 in terms of the predictions.
I am not smarter than an AI, I tell you. Ask Robert. He'll tell you. I'm dumb most of the time. I just got lucky tonight.
But it is common sense, right? Tires aren't finite. Tires aren't infinite resources, unless it's a console game. They are very finite in terms of rubber.
Oh, yeah. No matter what you're racing on iRacing across the board, all that matters, for the most part, is how you save your tires. You do not want to burn your tires up in any car because once they're gone, you're not getting them back. They're cooked.
George Childs just got lapped, by the way. You've seen him in the backdrop. Rex Hoyle with that is up by a full second. And this goes right back to Richmond about a few weeks ago. He set sail around this point of the race, then cautions bred cautions to end up the race, and he couldn't get the lead back after the strategy flip. Now, is there a metaphor for a green flag dance you can do in the cockpit because he's doing it? With some of these others really having a hard time on the grip.
Prayer, just hope, right? Prayer and hope. Oh, please, no caution. I do not want to see a caution. One thing that's happened here, the 23 has hit the wall again, and I think he's hurt something. He's back. I think he has hurt something in that race car.
Yeah, there's a key word that was utilized by the broadcaster on the service, Joshua Lee: cumulative damage. One hit, you might be able to get away with. Two, you're pushing it. We're upwards of near 10 for the 23 making wall contact. Eventually, the car's going to say, stop hitting me into the wall. I'm going to lose the tire. Even with the Nerf bars on the side, they don't protect the tire from the wall.
Yeah, and he is really struggling right now at this point. I'd say his wheel might be a little off. Like you mentioned, we're up towards 10. It might be hard to figure out when it's going straight. You can see it right there in the corner. He just has nothing. The 3 car here. Here comes Ralph trying to make this pass.
Right now, James Waldo trying to hold on to second last on the lead lap.
Car contact, not wall contact. They bounce off each other a little bit there in the middle of the corner.
Yeah, Waldo's tires and Waldo's car may be cooked with this now falling apart here. He only has one driver behind him who is on the lead lap at Chris Hazlett. It is not looking good for Waldo. Right now he's running a good second slower than everybody else.
Yeah, the struggle is real in that 23 car right now. I think if there's a caution, he's coming to getting some more tires if he's got any laying. Or maybe damage repair. He might have to come in and get something straightened out a little bit.
One side note, you see Todd Liston is back in the race. He came back in after reattaching the whole front axle, 25 laps down. He's still running, trying to get points here. He picked up a top 3 last time. Your race leader about to reach a huge wave of traffic here. This could be one of the first major tests to run. Hoyle has to deal with, at very minimum, 5 lap cars grouped together in the span of about a full corner and a half right now. That's not going to be easy unless they're fully cordial. Remember, Brian Johnson, who was not easy to pass early on in the last restart sequence, is in this group.
Yeah, but the good thing is at this point in the run, he's probably got more tire life than they've got. He's been able to run a little easier on the tires. As you can see how fast he's closing up. The speed in this machine right now, Rex is absolutely flying. I mean, Thomas is on newer tires, and he's lost a second and a half, over the last 10 laps. So Rex is absolutely flying. So I don't know how much, if any, trouble these lap cars will be able to give him if they wanted to give him trouble.
But to the other point as well, do you really want to give the race leader who is running this quick a lot of trouble? I mean, you don't want to end up putting a warning or a strike onto your permanent record for the season.
I think how I race the leader would be based on who it is, how they've raced me in the past, and if I'm on the lead lap. Like, if I'm on the lead lap and he's lapping me for the first time, I'm probably going to fight him pretty hard because I know if there's a caution, he's probably not getting tires. But at this point, if I'm that far back getting lapped, I'm going to come and get some and try to, maybe get up towards the top 7 or 8.
Once again, for those tuning in, yesteryear action continuing to go in rapid fashion tonight. Oh, and Dale Copeland has to pit. The 55 just said he is pitting under green.
That's a shocker.
Yeah, that is massive for his race. That is basically race toast.
Do you think he hurt something? Did he blow a tire? Something. That's surprising right there.
He is taking tires here. It looks like full service. It's either he blew a tire or he pushed it on the fuel just too much, maybe. I don't know. That's a two-tire stop. Oh, and this could be a tricky spot for the rest of the way. I think everyone else is good on the gas, for those curious. Copeland apparently was the one exception since he was literally the only person not to pit in the field yet.
But if he did blow a tire, that brings, like, man, everybody else has got to be thinking about tires too, right? If he's blown one.
Yeah. Yeah, right now, the drivers have seen half a second of fall off. Bianchi is still struggling to close up to Rex Hoyle, although it is closing with some of the traffic at times. Bianchi's getting a little bit quicker through it compared to Hoyle so far.
That really baffles me. That 55, I thought, took good care of his tires. I thought he was pretty patient. You know, he made that mistake over there off of 2 that time, but for the most part, he was taking care of his stuff really good. So if he's blowing a tire, if I'm another driver out here, maybe I'm backing down just a little bit more. I'm thinking, you know what, if he's got tire issues, I could have tire issues. And if you blow a tire on the sim, you don't actually blow a tire. It just pops up and tells you, and it obviously becomes very hard to turn. Typically, it's the right front, so it becomes very hard to turn, and you have to pit. You have 3 laps to pit or you're DQ'd. So if anybody has tire issues, they will have to pit.
Now, an interesting trend starting to pop up. And it's not just the fact it's a hornet's nest building up, and we have one in the grass. Hold on. Big trouble in front of the leader, and it is the leader. Rex Hoyle turns around the 23. Waldo at the tail of the lead lap has to tow it. And we're under caution yet again.
That happened out in front of the 23 was checking up there. Something happened to the 93 of Chris Hazlip right there.
Oh, wow. That was your tail end of the lead lap drivers both having trouble down the back straight away.
Yeah, it looks like, oh, it happened in front of them. There's already a car in the grass. Okay, so the 26 spins, the 93 sees it, checks up. 23 doesn't get checked up in time, and obviously the leader doesn't get checked up in time either.
And this is exactly what Rex Hoyle probably did not want to see. A strategy flip of the script. Looks like a lot of 2 tires calls here. Rex Hoyle off the jacks, already off and away. Wins the race over Brian Bianchi this time. Thomas Ogle comes out on a 2-tire stop in 3rd. Then next in terms of lead lappers, Alan Wanamaker, Donnie Moore, your top 5. Everybody inside the top 7 taking 2 tires on this pit call. You know what's huge here? This caution may very well just saved the race of Dave Copeland, because he can take the wave, be in theory, or at the very least, I should say, is tail end of the lead lap. Another caution, he's in it. He's in the race.
Yeah, but he would have liked to have seen that caution before he had to pit.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I think most people would agree. Crystal balls are kind of in a very big shortage right now. They have not been on sale since the 500s.
And did those ones work in the 500, you think?
I don't know. We weren't in the 500s. But Rex Hoyle is going to be definitely the person to beat the rest of the way in theory, Chris. So what do you do to battle with him? Better yet, what do you do knowing you not only have to battle him, but also Thomas Ogle is in 3rd with track position?
Well, we just got new tires, 2 of them. Probably everybody took rights. So I'm guessing the lefts probably aren't wearing too terrible out here. You know, the right side's basically fresh tires here. Tire saving's over. We're going to restart this thing with about 30 to go. You're not saving nothing now. It's time to go. Saddle up, boys. It's going to be a very exciting last 30 laps, I think. And oh, by the way, we got lap cars right in front of them that are going to play into this too.
George Childs is stacking everybody up. They have delayed the caution restart because Ryan Pittman had to let cars go down the front straightaway. So we're going our lap here. And
they're putting the leaders in front of the car, all the lappers.
Oh, that is an interesting choice. And I don't think some of them are going to agree with that, but it looks like that's what the sim's telling them. It was going to be awkward if it was a good... They are telling the field we are going green this time by. If we went green there, it would have been a driver 4 laps down in control of the restart.
Exciting though, right? I mean...
Yeah. Good 1990 style restart. You never know what can happen with the tail end of the lead lap in front of leaders, am I right? But not now.
Usually not good things. I remember a race at Kansas in like 06 or 07 where the lappers wrecked in front of the leaders and wrecked a bunch of the leaders.
Green flag is out. Rex Hoyle now in control of the restart. Back underway. Keep an eye on the 13. He's looking for an arc already. Bianchi defends hard to the inside line. Multiple black flags in sim. Cars 5, 55, 61, 62 did not get lined up in the right spots.
And I believe that's all the lappers. That was all the lappers that were trying to find their way to the back.
That's going to really hurt a lot of those, especially Copeland, who was in line possibly for the lead lap. Not now, but right now, look at Bianchi. He got a run, but nowhere to take it.
Here comes the 13. We're going to have that battle for second, side by side in the 3.
A dive to the inside. The Culpeppers machine up high side. Bianchi has the run down the hill. Thomas Ogle still cannot find a way to get around these two. Good defense still from the 41-year points leader. Ogle still wraps the curbing, but in the end, it's Ogle who jumps to second.
Rex just ran his fastest lap of the race right there by 0.2 of a second. But these boys are getting up on it now. They know nothing's left to save. We're going to use it all.
And Thomas needs to go. 25 laps to go. Rex Hoyle looks to try and redeem himself after showing dominant pace at Richmond. And Ogle's got a problem. Ogle has to let cars go. Did he push a little too much there? I think he did.
Yeah, I think he started to get loose there and had to make a catch. And he just ran his fastest lap. Everybody up here is running their fastest laps of the race right now.
Not a shocker. Fresh tires, low fuel, good on short runs. Gonna make things a little bit tighter long run in theory for the fixed sets. We'll see. Ogle is back to second though.
Ooh, maybe a little bumper tag.
Oh, that's a little hit to the dirt bar indeed. Right now, these drivers are losing time the more they fight for second. Just a look at your intervals. Bottom corner of your screen right now. Ogle.
More bumper tag. Wow.
Oh,
Ryan
man.
is giving it all to Thomas right now.
Thomas seems to be better on exit, but Bianchi has that center roll we've already seen just before him losing second. Now, the question is, can anybody, or either of them, should say, match up to the 50?
I always wonder if the 50 maybe is seeing how big his lead is and saving just a little bit. I mean, I know it's just 20 to go, but if you could save a little bit and have a little bit left when they get there and pull back away. But right now, Brian's going to take the fight back to him here. I thought he was going to drive away. I thought he'd lost too much ground to drive back to him, but Brian is driving right back to Thomas once again, especially down on 1 and 2. Thomas is arcing out that 1 and 2. Brian's wrapping the bottom, and Brian's driving right to his back bumper every time in the middle of the corner.
Rex Hoyle, for reference, is starting to reach up to Copeland this time. Copeland is 3 laps down because the black flag. Disqualification, the 5 towards Childs is done. And this could be trouble in front of the leader. Look to the 50 because it's 3 wide with lap traffic. Copeland wants to pass people. Hoyle looks to find holes to dupe set passes.
Yeah, and lost 3 tenths right there that first lap with the traffic. If he loses 3 more tenths, they'll be right on his bumper.
And up in the wall goes 1 lap car. They continue to shuffle onto the bottom of the racetrack. There was Leiden who is up fence side. Hoyle this time goes inside. Still yet to kill lap Copeland right now in the midst of things. You know what's happened with all this lap traffic kerfluffling? The buffer is, well, it's kind of gone. It's completely gone. It's down to half a second instead of a second.
Yeah, it's, well, looks like Rex put a little bit back on him there, just a tenth, but I believe there's just 1 more lap car we'll have to deal with. I'm not sure if we'll have to deal with any more traffic after this 55. And we know the 55's got speed, but the 55 being very courteous, going to give him the bottom. He says, hey, man, you're racing for the win. That's where I want to race. Maybe put that in the bank and remember that the next time I'm lapping you, if it ever gets to that.
There is one thing that is helping the 50 with under 14 laps to go. Bianchi does not want to settle for 3rd. If anything, he's not allowing Thomas Ogle any chances to try and hold on to 2nd here. They keep losing bunches of time. Every little poke and prod from the 41 into the Nerf bars.
Oh, and the lapper gives it to the 13 and chooses to stay on the outside of the 41 there. That could have been bad.
Doesn't end up being too bad, but it could have been pretty tough. Instead, Bianchi tries to still reset. Give credit, though, to the 79 Allen Wanamaker in the tribute paint scheme tonight. Has done near brilliantly. Sits, not putting up a qualifying time. Recovered well on track timing in terms of the green flag run to start. Did really well on strategy. He has not dropped outside the top 4 since.
Here comes Brian. He's run out there, going to hit him a little bit in the middle of the corner again. Just keeps hitting him in the middle of the corner, saying, hey, I'm still here. Just in case you haven't looked in a lap or 2, I'm still back here.
Rex Hoyle's just about checked up from these 2. As a result, now down to the final 9 or so laps to go in this one. And Rex has to be really thinking a lot of positivity in his mind here because the start of this season was up and down for the 50 machine. He had the chance to win at Richmond. Break through as the first different winner of the season. Didn't get the luck leading his direction. Now, a good chance to redeem himself during the flurry of racing in April. 3 races this month before an off month in May. Not a bad turnaround after a slow start to the season and a rocket ship to close out the month.
Yeah, and he's just 6 laps away here at the line from being able to win here at the historic North Wilkesboro Speedway.
When a return 2 laps from now, Rex Hoyle seems comfortable. Thomas Ogle, good recovery in the points. Could be thinking what if in terms of strategy from earlier. Remember, he was a rocket when he had clean air. But Bianchi is making this an intense fight amongst all 3 of them. One of the other storylines touched upon throughout the night. Top 3 in points, being within less than 10 points. Throw Pittman out of that equation. You possibly put Hoyle into it with less than 5 laps to go and point of return time.
Yeah, and there's 1 lap car that I think they're going to have to deal with, and that's it. They're going to catch 1 more lap car here. But the battle's for 2nd. 3/4 of a second is the lead for Rex. And Brian and Thomas, that is where the battle's going to be if Brian so chooses to hit him a little bit harder in the middle of 1 and 2. Things could get really interesting there.
Another poke for Bianchi. Still can't get there. He went in the grass, in fact. Brian Bianchi cut the left sides down into that infield again, and 1 and 2 is lucky to keep going with 2 laps to go.
He's so much better, especially down into 1. Down into 1 and through. Oh, he gets loose there. That's going to, I think, end that battle. I don't think he can get back to him.
That should just about settle the spots up front, but there's still one more circuit to go. White flag is out, final time around here for yesteryear in the Zach Brewer Classic. Rex Hoyle put on some speed at Richmond. Didn't have the race end his way, though, with the cautions at the end there. Tonight, the cautions fall in his way. Rex Hoyle is the winner in yesteryear. Second spot tonight goes the way of Thomas Ogle. Brian Bianchi builds on his points lead with a top 3 run for back-to-back weeks.
What a race we saw tonight. That was a great race. It started off a little sketch, and then we had just a couple more cautions there. Rex got caught up in that one wreck just a little bit, but he was able to hit him flat and not do any damage to either of his wheels there in the front wheels, and was able to still hang on and win the race. What a job.
And celebration is on. Rex Hoyle just taking the time. And it looks like for Rex, he's just going to take it down to victory lane instead. He just wants to celebrate straight up. So with his decision to go straight towards the victory lane, and or at least try and find his pit box, we'll take a quick step aside. Post-race coverage coming up in just a moment. You're watching yesteryear here on Maconi Entertainment.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
When you want to be the best, you can't settle for the rest. For anything on iRacing, there's just one name you need: Maconi.
With the launch of Maconi Entertainment and Maconi Competizone alongside Maconi Setup Shop, we now provide the best of the best in setups, paint schemes, coaching, broadcasting, and event organization.
With cars across all 4 license classes, we have what you need to hit the track with confidence. Grab a subscription and save money while going fast at MaconiSetupShop.com/subscriptions.
And remember, at Maconi Setup Shop, there are setups, but your victories.
Welcome back to coverage of the Zach Brewer Classic here on Maconi Entertainment. It's Rex Hoyle who makes up for what was a rough run to end Richmond after being lightning fast late there, with a lightning fast race in general. 66 laps led on the way to the victory tonight over Thomas Ogle and Brian Bianchi. A good shout out to Alan Wanamaker in the Zach Brewer throwback. He finishes 4th over Donnie Moore. Bruce Pearson finishes quietly in 6th. Then rounding out the early lap finishers was Ralph Vandervoort. Drivers laps down included Gavin Adams, Chris Heislip, and Jeffrey Leiden. Give him some solid credit there. He still finished top 10 despite being several laps down at one point.
Yeah, and then right in there behind him, we got Ryan Pittman. We got Dale Copeland. These are the guys I think that got black flag there. Dale Copeland, James Waldo, Lloyd Moore there. We saw him have some troubles early in the race. Stephen Hilbert, Rory Collins there. He was one of those guys that got black flag. Brian Johnson, Thomas Hilbert, Todd Liston. These guys were part of that wreck there early in the race. Torrance Childs and Lowell Jewell will round out the field.
That's what talks about him at your one tonight here from North Wilkesboro Speedway. Drivers now standing on by. Let's start things off with 3rd place tonight. The points leader entering this evening was Brian Bianchi. He's your first on deck to talk things over. Brian, first things first, talk us to us about your battle for second. It looked aggressive between you and Thomas.
Oh man, that was fun. That was a lot of fun. Tom got a little bit of run on me there early in that last run, and I think I was a tick better than him, but I just couldn't get around him.
I believe I heard some discussion just moments ago with fourth place finisher Alan Wanamaker about just how fun this combination was and this track is. What makes it so fun in your opinion, and why?
I don't know. I just think it's the whole league as an entirety. I think that Alan's done such a great job putting this together and selecting the best drivers that run the cleanest. You know, Tom and I battled there, but there was, there was nothing even close to wrecking. I mean, that's about as much fun on this sim as you can have.
Now, there is a month break now mixed into the season. Interestingly enough, not sure if you knew this, they're in the real world S.M.A.R.T Tour, which this race was a part of set scheduling of. There was a break till July. The break in this series is until June. That's on screen for us here. What's that going to be like having a month away after all the momentum essentially built up for the past few weeks and essentially having this busy stretch we've seen build up here in this respective series coming up here?
Yeah, I'd like to keep racing, but I mean, this is a great concept. I like the way he's following everything. I mean, it's such real world from 1990 that, we'll take a month off. Rex and I will do some testing, I'm sure, and we'll be ready to go when it's time.
I believe there's a Martinsville race, but I think that technically would be a part of the Whelen Modified replica portion of the schedule. Get the confirmation that regardless, that brings up a busy stretch coming up after that point. As you said, it's going to get interesting. Your final thought? Anyone you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, as always, Culpeper's Bakery and Cafe, Colony Tire, Christina's Cut Some Cuts, Zeno's Luxury Jackets. Shout out to Rex Hoyle for the win. He's been my teammate, and I'm glad to see him up there with a win.
So on that note, we'll see what happens. Just got confirmation there is a paperclip race before that month-long break, but that's a part of the Whelen replica side. Either way, we'll see how things go in the next few weeks. Congrats on the top 3, Brian.
Thanks, man. Thank you.
Brian Bianchi finishing in the 3rd spot here tonight. 2nd spot on the racetrack went to Thomas Ogle. A strong recovery after what happened for Tom. After showing good speed early at Richmond, he finished 17th then. He finishes 2nd tonight. He's with Chris.
Yeah, I'm standing here with Tom. Tom, talk to us about your race. You looked very strong early after that first pit stop. Didn't look like you can get back up there. Take us through your night, and what more did you need to go up there and get Rex?
So I think those guys took 4 tires on the first stop, I think, and I took 2. And at first it didn't bother you, but after 4 or 5 laps, I think after 150 laps on him, I was just too loose at the end to run Rex down. He was fast. I'm not sure, like, if I could have passed him even if I would have had the tires. He was fast all night.
Then you had that great battle there at the end. Talk to us about that battle with Brian there, and did you think he was going to get back around you?
I did. I wasn't sure what situation his tires were in either. You don't know who took 2, who took 4 when they stopped. I wanted it. I was hoping it would go green there after that first caution, second caution, whenever we had the long green flag run. But then we got that late caution, and I only took 2 there. I didn't want to lose track position. So I think if I'd have taken 4 there, I'd have been better. But Brian and I were battling pretty hard. I got around him, and then I heard crew chief told me Rex turned like a 0.17 or something, so I gassed it up real hard off of 2, trying to make up time, and got loose and about wrecked the both of us then.
And what's the outlook for the rest of the season here, Tom? You guys got that big break coming up. How do you plan on attacking the second part of the season?
Well, I'm looking forward to the New England tracks, Stafford and Thompson, just keep trying. I can't have another week like I had last week is the most important thing. Or not last week, 2 weeks ago at Richmond. It just went bad, and then it went worse. I couldn't get a feel for the car, and I was just terrible, So then I went from leading the points back to 3rd. So this is tight field, and those front guys are always going to be up front. So if you have 1 bad week, it can set you back. You got to dig out of the hole the whole season.
Well, all right, Tom, before we let you jump out of here and celebrate your podium and go to work and get prepared for the second half of the season, are there any sponsors you want to thank, shout out you want to give?
I just want to thank Alan for putting on the league. He does a great job, and it's a fun league with the history and everything around it. You guys do a great job broadcasting. Congratulations to Rex. He was really fast and good pit strategy. And a
All
good
right.
battle with Brian.
All right, Tom, congrats on the run. Look forward to seeing
Thank
more
you.
from you here, I guess, in about 6 weeks' time.
Yep. Have a great day.
It's more so about the week's time, but either way, Tom Ogle finishing in second spot tonight. But you know who we'll see in about, I don't know, 5 seconds time? 1, 2, 3, 4. Rex Hoyle is here from Victory Lane. Rex, you make things up from a rough finish at Richmond. It's your first win this season after showing rapid pace as of late. How does it feel to get the win in North Wilkesboro?
Oh man, it's great. This is such a storied track with so much history, and to come out here and the car handled as good as it did, and man, what a show! Hope the fans enjoyed it because man, I sure did. I was sweating when this thing was over.
Talk to us about the emotions of the past few races, because Richmond, you had a rocket for the later stages, and then the cautions bred cautions. Tonight, things seemed to fall in your place. What was that emotional whirlwind like from how Richmond went to knowing you're able to break through tonight?
Oh man, I just couldn't believe Richmond. We had the same car. It was handling on a rail, and we were having so much fun with it. And of course, the caution come out, and it's things happen in racing, and nothing you can do about it. Just do your best, and came up a little short, but it was definitely a roller coaster ride.
Paperclip is amongst those coming up in terms of schedule, believe here. So let's talk about that, because it's actually our second race at Martinsville per the schedule in the past 5 weeks. So a lot of people overlook that actually in terms of the incoming schedules. Your thoughts on a second trip to the Paperclip?
Yeah, unfortunately, I think I missed that first race, or it was a bad night. That's what it was. Yeah, I actually finished 12th, and I had a better car than that. Just had a little, I think it was a little bump up I had there and pushed me back out of the top 10. But Martinsville's right up the road. We could call that our home track, and looking forward to going back there and see if we can keep this thing running like it is. It's been a lot of fun. Got to thank Brian Bianchi and the 41, my teammate. We work hard on these things to make them go fast, and it paid off tonight.
Well, on that note, Rex, congratulations on the victory once again tonight. Congratulations on your first win in YesterYear.
Thank you, sir. I sure do appreciate it. I got to thank the league, and it's a great league to race in. Really enjoy it.
Once again, that's Rex Hoyle who gets the victory here tonight. Well done on him. We'd like to thank the whole top three for taking the time to speak with us during post-race coverage here on Maconi Entertainment. Now, we touched upon the break coming up. It's got an extra week to hold on to. You see that date on April 30th. That was originally part of the Whelen Modified schedule. Then that break is similar to what happened in the S.M.A.R.T Tour, albeit a month shorter before the Whelen Modified dates return. That being said here, Chris, the busy month of April closes out next week.
Yeah, the busy month of April will close out, and everybody gets to spend some time watching racing in the month of May, right? Memorial Day weekend coming up there in the month of May. Indy 500 qualifying, Indy 500 race, the Coke 600, all that stuff going on, and everybody's going to get to soak it in, maybe go out there and spend some time at one of those racetracks. It's time for the month of racing here, take a time off and come back, for Thompson, Stafford, and then Thompson again. So staying right up there in the New England area, it's going to be exciting. People have to stay tuned, mark it down on your calendar. Don't forget and come back and check it out, because tonight was a great show.
Once again, that coverage starts April 30th at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time for the green flag here on Maconi Entertainment. On that note, it's time to say goodnight. Thank you once again to the YesterYear Racing administration team led by Alan Wanamaker for their work in bringing this league to life. Calling the action tonight was myself, Justin Prince, alongside Chris White. Robert Hill was producing. Thanks to our viewers for watching tonight's action. We hope you stay tuned to our social media pages for our next broadcast. Remember, that next broadcast is on iRacing's social media platforms for C-Fixed SOF Racing in the Maconi Fixed Series at Dover. And then on Thursday, it's the NASCAR Whelen iRacing Series. The first round of RTP continues at the Monster Mile Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on iRacing social media platforms. On that note, we'd like to say thanks once more to the entire staff for their work in bringing this racing to you tonight. This has been a production of Maconi Entertainment. We'll see you next time from Dover tomorrow night.
When you want to be the best, you can't settle for the rest. For anything on iRacing, there's just one name you need, Maconi.
With the launch of Maconi Entertainment and Maconi Competizone alongside Maconi Setup Shop, we now provide the best of the best in setups, paint schemes, coaching, broadcasting, and event organization.
With cars across all 4 license classes, we have what you need to hit the track with confidence. Grab a subscription and save money while going fast at MaconiSetupShop.com/subscriptions.
And remember, at Maconi Setup Shop, there are setups, but your victories.